Imagine a map created in 1513 drawn on the skin of a gazelle that depicts the coastline of a continent the modern world wouldn't officially discover for another 300 years. Even more chilling, what if that map showed that frozen wasteland not as ice but as a habitable land of mountains and rivers? Welcome to the Midnight Files channel. Today we peel back the layers of a 500-year-old enigma that continues to baffle cartographers, geologists, and historians. Alike the Piri Reis Map, Antarctica before ice. The story of the Piri Reis Map does not begin on the high seas, but in the dusty, neglected corridors of a palace undergoing a radical transformation. The year was 1929. Turkey was in the midst of a profound cultural rebirth under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. As part of this modernization, the ancient Topkapı Palace in Istanbul, the former heart of the Ottoman Empire's power and its imperial harem, was being converted into a national museum. The task of cataloging the palace's vast, disorganized library fell to Halil Eldem, the director of the National Museums. On a sweltering afternoon in October, while sifted through a pile of discarded parchments and forgotten scrolls in the palace's non-Islamic section, Eldem pulled out a fragment of gazelle hide parchment. It was roughly 90 by 63 centimeters, its edges frayed, its surface stained by centuries of shadows. But as he unrolled it, his breath caught. Before him was a world map of staggering beauty and detail. It was adorned with vibrant illustrations of exotic animals, strange ships, and intricate compass roses. Most importantly, it bore a signature and a date. It was the work of Ahmet Muhiddin Piri, better known as Piri Reis, a celebrated Ottoman admiral, geographer, and cartographer. The date was the Islamic year 919, which corresponds to 1513 in the Gregorian calendar. Initially, the academic excitement centered on the fact that the map showed the new world. Piri Reis had explicitly noted in his marginalia that he had compiled the map from 20 different sources, including 8 Ptolemaic maps, 4 Portuguese charts, and a map drawn by Colombo Christopher Columbus himself. Since Columbus' own maps of the Caribbean had been lost to history, this Ottoman fragment was hailed as one of the most significant links to the Age of Discovery. However, as scholars looked further south, the excitement turned into profound confusion. The map did not stop at the Caribbean or the coast of Brazil. It followed the South American coastline, down, curving eastward across the bottom of the parchment to reveal a massive landmass. In the 1950s, this section caught the eye of Captain Arlington H. Mallory and later Professor Charles Hapgood of Keene State College. They made a claim that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The coastline at the bottom of the Piri Reis Map was a near-perfect match for the Queen Maud land coast of Antarctica. The implications were terrifying to the established timeline of history. Antarctica was officially discovered in 1820. Furthermore, the subglacial topography, the actual shape of the land beneath the ice, was only confirmed in 1958 using seismic sounding during the International Geophysical Year. If Piri Reis had accurately depicted the coastline of Antarctica without its ice sheet, it implied he had access to source maps that were thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of years old, dating back to a time before the continent was frozen. When this theory hit the academic world, the reaction was polarized. Established historians dismissed it as a cartographic error, suggesting Piri Reis had simply run out of room on the parchment and bent the South American coast to fit. But geologists and maverick researchers pointed to the uncanny precision of the longitudinal coordinates. The discovery in the Topkapı archives had unearthed more than just a map. It had uncovered a document that threatened to rewrite the history of human civilization and the very timeline of our planet's geography. To understand the impossibility of the Piri Reis Map, we must move beyond the illustrations and examine the physical medium and the mathematical engine that powers its depiction of the world. The map is drawn on high-quality gazelle skin parchment, a material known for its durability and resistance to the humid conditions of a maritime environment. Forensic analysis of the inks reveals a sophisticated blend of organic dyes and mineral pigments typical of the 16th century Ottoman workshops. However, the true mechanism of this artifact is not the ink or the skin, but its underlying cartographic projection. Modern cartographers, including Professor Charles Hapgood and researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, have subjected the map to rigorous mathematical scrutiny. They discovered that the map uses an equidistant projection method that requires advanced knowledge of spherical trigonometry. What is staggering is the center point of this projection. When the coordinates are reverse engineered using modern computers, the center of the map appears to be located near Cairo, Egypt. This implies that the original source maps utilized by Piri Reis were based on a survey conducted from a high altitude, almost as if viewed from space, centuries before the invention of flight. The most explosive scientific data found within the map concerns its longitudinal accuracy. In the 16th century, sailors could calculate latitude with relative ease using the stars, but calculating longitude was a mathematical nightmare that wouldn't be solved until the invention of the marine chronometer by John Harrison in the 18th century. Yet the Piri Reis map depicts the relative longitudes of the coasts of Africa and South America with a margin of error of less than 1 degree. In 1960, Professor Hapgood submitted the map to the United States Air Force 8th Reconnaissance Technical Squadron for evaluation. The response, signed by Lieutenant Colonel Harold Z. Ohlmeyer, remains one of the most cited documents in the study of out-of-place artifacts. The Air Force report confirmed that the coastline shown at the bottom of the map Queen Maud Land perfectly matches the subglacial topography of Antarctica as mapped by the 1949 British Scandinavian Antarctic expedition. The report stated the geographical detail shown in the lower part of the map agrees very remarkably with the results of the seismic profile made across the top of the ice cap by the Swedish-British Antarctic expedition in 1949. This indicates the coastline had been mapped before it was covered by the ice cap. The ice cap in this region is now about a mile thick. Modern geological data further complicates the mystery. To depict the coastline of Antarctica, drawn during a period known as the mechanism of the map also reveals the scale and distances between continents, the Earth's size that was more accurate than not just draw a map. He compiled Albert Einstein and a coastline free of ice. Einstein himself wrote the foreword to Hapgood's book, stating that the idea was not only plausible but deserved serious scientific investigation. In this view, Piri Reis was not just an admiral, he was the accidental guardian of a lost library of the ancients, a pre-cataclysmic archive of global knowledge. However, the mainstream academic community remains deeply skeptical, viewing these claims as pseudo-archaeology. Leading cartographic historians, such as Gregory Mackintosh, offer a far more grounded, though less romantic explanation. Skeptics argue that the supposed Antarctic coastline at the bottom of the map is actually the coast of South America, specifically the region of Patagonia and the Rio de la Plata, which Piri Reis simply bent eastward to fit the physical constraints of the gazelle hide parchment. In the 16th century, parchment was expensive and mapmakers often distorted geography to fill the available space. Skeptics point out that many features on the Piri Reis map, such as the missing Drake Passage and the fact that the Antarctic coast is physically attached to Brazil, support the idea that this was a cartographic error or a creative interpretation of Portuguese charts. They suggest that the Queen Maud Land mountains are actually the Andes, misaligned by a mapmaker who had never seen them. To the skeptics, the Piri Reis map is a masterpiece of 16th century compilation, but it does not require a lost civilization to explain its existence. The debate is further complicated by the historical concept of terra australis, incognita, the unknown southern land. For centuries, Renaissance geographers believed that a massive southern continent must exist to balance the weight of the pole northern landmasses. This belief led many mapmakers, such as Laurence Finet and Philippe Bouache, to draw hypothetical southern continents on their charts long before Antarctica was officially discovered. Is it possible that Piri Reis was simply following this tradition, adding a legendary landmass based on pure speculation? Or does the uncanny accuracy of the longitudinal data, which, as we discussed, was mathematically impossible for the time, prove that he had a source that was far more than legendary? This is where the conflict reaches its peak. If the map is a fake or a mistake, How do we explain the precision of the South American coastline and its relative distance to Africa? Even if we dismiss the Antarctic claim, the Piri Reis Map remains an anomaly of 16th century navigation that should not exist according to our current understanding of history. The Piri Reis Map thus sits at the center of a fundamental tension in history. Do we trust the official timeline that progress is a straight line upwards, or do we accept the possibility that humanity has reached great heights before, only to be wiped clean by a global catastrophe? Proponents of the ancient civilization theory point to other anomalies, like the Bimini Road or the Antikythera mechanism, as supporting evidence. Skeptics, meanwhile, demand extraordinary evidence for extraordinary claims, noting that until we find the physical ruins of this supposed mother culture, the Piri Reis Map remains a mystery of ink and hide, a Rorschach test for how we view our own past. As we roll up the parchment of the Piri Reis Map and return it to the climate-controlled vaults of history, we are left with more than just a cartographic puzzle. Whether the map is a collection of lucky guesses, a creative distortion of 16th century charts, or the literal footprint of a lost advanced civilization, its significance cannot be overstated. It stands as a testament to the intellectual ambition of the Ottoman Empire during the Age of Discovery and the personal genius of Admiral Piri Reis, a man who sought to synthesize the world's knowledge into a single unified vision. The mystery of the Piri Reis Map serves as a humbling reminder to us in the 21st century. We often view history as a straight, unbroken line of progress, moving from primitive beginnings to our current technological peak. However, artifacts like this map suggest that the story of humanity might be far more complex, a cycle of incredible heights, followed by tragic losses of knowledge. It teaches us that truth in history is often a moving target, and that what we know today might be rewritten by a single discovery tomorrow. This map challenges us to keep an open mind. It reminds us that the Earth still holds secrets buried under kilometers of ice or hidden in the archives of forgotten palaces. It encourages us to look at the past not with arrogance, but with a sense of wonder. If a 16th century sailor could gaze across the ocean and see a world that shouldn't have been there, perhaps we too should look beyond our current horizons and question the boundaries of what we believe is possible. The Piri Reis Map remains a silent, gazelle-hide enigma, shadow of a past that continues to haunt and inspire our future. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.